What's up everyone, it's Russo. I hope everyone is doing well. Please follow my Instagram at RussoLifts. Just in case something happens to this YouTube channel, you can follow, message, and you can watch my daily story content on Instagram. I'll see you there. What's up everyone, it's Russo. I hope everyone is doing well. Today I'm going to be going over injectable SARMs as a whole. You know, my final take, my final thoughts after experimenting with the RAD140, which has a full video log for you to view, the YK11, which has a full video log for you to view, the LGD4033, which has a full video log for you to view, and then I will be doing 2 mini episodes on the injectable MK2866 Ostarine, which is just going to be 2 little episodes on my general thoughts. Overall, going into these experiments, you know, the point was, my goal was to create a new age hybrid cycle with the selective androgen receptor modulators, as they are cutting edge and as they pose theoretical advantages of having no DHT conversion and no estrogen conversion, and theoretically being more selective, at least in the oral administration studies. We see that they are more selective than, say, testosterone, as far as prostate binding and binding to other areas of the body that you really wouldn't want when exogenous levels, you know, are in play. So, you know, that was the theory. Theory was to create a hybrid style bulk setup, as well as log RAD140, even though that's more of a Cutner hardener. RAD140 is extremely popular. So I decided to see if the injection administration was any different. So going into, you know, the benefits posed to me as far as the injectable SARMs go was less toxicity and obviously greater power as greater bioavailability. For example, the bioavailability of Ostarine is around 40%. When you add an injectable administration method, it goes up to 90%. Now, some SARMs don't really benefit from this, as S23's oral bioavailability is around 90%, which is why it's so ridiculously strong, so ridiculously androgenic right off the bat, and that should have been, you know, a little Blue's Clues hint for me as far as what I was about to go into as far as side effects wise, and how my initial thoughts have changed over time. And I want to make this video kind of just ironing everything out and coming to a conclusion. So I was under the impression, again, I pulled baseline blood work when I was pretty much natty just to make sure mostly everything was in range. HDL is slightly low, obviously, from all the experiments I've done, but everything else was in range. HDL low is expected on anyone who's using exogenous testosterone. Even as HRT, you'll see HDL take a hit. Obviously, HDL is very important to me. It's good cholesterol, and my LDL, I've always been very good at keeping my LDL in check. So, I was under the impression that I was going to create a bulk, make a ton of results with way less side effects than the last time I tried to bulk with traditional gear cycle. I don't have that cycle posted. I have to re-edit all my old videos and censor them down to put them back on YouTube, but I do plan on doing that in my spare time. I'm going to hire someone to actually just censor them down so we can throw them back up so you can see my full progress from natty to SARMs only to the transition to gear. I really want to get that all back up, so please subscribe if you're new here. But basically, if you guys are new and never seen that video log, it was NPP high dosage with a testosterone base. What I noted from it was my heart was pounding. I really noticed the impact on my heart the minute the NPP started kicking in, which really turned me off from the cycle, and I was getting a lot of water retention. I could feel the water retention, right? I could feel the blood pressure increase. When I would go on the Stairmaster, I would feel, you know, terrible. As far as the injectable SARMs go, I really didn't notice, you know, I didn't feel taxed. Even though I went from but I started, I think, around 220-ish. I'll have to go back and check. I don't want to throw that out there, but I ended up at 250 pounds, which is an extreme weight gain. You know, anytime you're chasing these extreme weight gains, these extreme bulks, you know, I do want to compete in NPC Classic Physique. I'm 5'11 and a half, 6 foot, depending on what day it is. And that puts me in the 205 bracket weight class. So for me to be competitive in classic physique, I really need to theoretically sit up at 240 and then cut down and then build a more competitive physique with that new set point muscle, which is exactly what I accomplished with these cycles this winter. And I was so fixated on getting that set point muscle so I could actually build a competitive physique once I trim all this fat and water off and finally finish my body parts as far as my chest and my arms go. I think everything else came together nice to compete in NPC. But that was the goal. I did not want to go the goal of gear. I did not want to go that direction. Although it could have yielded more results, I was really interested in the new age stuff, and I wanted to document it for everyone's education and, you know, for my conclusions. And I always keep it real here. I'm always super transparent. So on cycle, I didn't really notice much. LGD obviously caused cramping. RAD 140 caused a body temp increase and, you know, thirst, which is very normal compared to oral RAD. LGD reacted very more androgenic, although it is a very harsh compound oral. I did notice, you know, a little bit of shedding as far as that is concerned, as well as really not a blood pressure increase, believe it or not. Like comparing LGD to MPP, I would feel way worse throughout my day blasting MPP than LGD 4033. So I was under the impression that they were less toxic than, you know, traditional gear as well as oral Sarms. So oral Sarms, again, you know, the more powerful ones definitely impact blood work. I've seen, you know, skews of HDL, higher liver enzymes, but normally when you compare the blood work of Sarms to something like a trend cycle, you know, the trend cycle, the blood work looks horrendous. Sarm cycle, you know, stuff's out of whack, but, you know, obviously the more power, the more side effects. So with this whole thing, I was in hopes of that the blood work would look better. Now, I'm not going to use my blood work as the determining factor because there's so many variables to my cycle. So I was counting on Derek because he used an isolation of the LGD 4033, as well as all of you guys. If you are playing around with experiments, email me ryanrussoj@gmail.com, your lab work, as well as, you know, just an overall review of whatever it was you were documenting. And obviously I'm not going to share any of that information, it's just to collect data. But once I got back, you know, Derek's results of that solo run at, you know, an HRT replacement dosage, which basically the goal of his experiment wasn't to do extreme bodybuilding, wasn't to do extreme stuff like I did. It was to basically see if LGD could be used as an HRT replacement because overall, you know, less prostate impact. On oral administration studies, you know, it's very anabolic, not very androgenic, which we turned out in reality doesn't really mean anything. And, you know, it looks like a good alternative on paper, so that's what he was testing. You know, when he got his results back, I'm not going to spoil all the blood work. He's going to go through it in his video. But HDL, crushed. SHBG, crushed. Then I've received different blood works from viewers. Some with enzymes, liver enzymes, very high. And potassium is high for some reason. I'm not sure on that one. And LDL obviously goes up as HDL goes down if the diet is not perfect. So it looks not to be that much better than, say, a trend cycle. You know, it looks very close. Again, trend is more toxic to the kidneys and causes more effects in the brain, which can, you know, progress Alzheimer's and stuff. But the blood work did not reflect the no toxicity. You know, it's like oral administration is almost, if not a little bit less damage, but of course you get the more power with the injectables. So the conclusion is, you know, it's not that much better, but overall, like I said in the beginning, I did feel better as far as I didn't feel the pressure on my heart, because MPP and nandrolones, you know, they're really not good for the heart when you read into the research. And I'm not going to go on, you know, a tangent with that, but I didn't feel that. Now the YK11 probably, in my opinion, is one of the most powerful androgens out of any of the androgens I've ever played with. The injectable version, it is ludicrous. It's up there with Trestolone. It's up there with Trenbolone. It's up there. Like, I'm not bullshitting the power of that and the effect on how it can ruin joints fast and how you need to change training styles if you want to experiment around with it. That myostatin inhibiting effect, in my opinion, is no joke. That one is by far the most sketch, but it was insane. Like, it's hard to believe the results I got with that one. And obviously, you know, the side effects of being a DHT base, you know, very androgenic, gonna cause all androgenic side effects. But another thing we noted, that even though there's no DHT conversion with these injectables, it creates a very androgenic environment. So you're really not getting away from any of those side effects. And with SHBG crush, that means your test base needs to be constantly being added in. Like, switching to, I'm glad I did Sustanon. I'm glad I kept it fast acting. I think fast acting would definitely help a lot. But, you know, I was under the impressions that there was not that much toxicity and bloods were going to be comparable at least to oral administration. Now, I've seen some oral administration bloods with the blood work completely throttled, but most of the time stuff is a little bit out of whack, which is to be expected. You know, this is bodybuilding, this is not HRT, this is not TRT. But looking at the injectable blood work, it's not anything near what I was hoping for. So yeah, I was under the impression that keeping a constant androgen level was going to be fine. You know, upon further research and discussion, it looks like letting it taper out, taper in, taper out, taper in was the way they were doing the bloods to prove that it wasn't toxic. Now, that is not really utilized in high-level enhanced bodybuilding because you want a constant androgen level to maintain your base muscle and you want a constant androgen level to build on. I didn't try it, that theory. I tried constant androgen level, which is keeping stable, like stability. So there could be more experiments to do as far as that. I'm not going to personally do it. I really logged everything I could. I really documented everything I could. And, you know, I think my results speak for myself. I know I'm not the greatest genetic freakazoid on here, and I'm not juiced to the absolute gills. I mean, you're talking, you know, a 300 milligram test base with, you know, under 50 milligram of Sarms. Like, the milligram power of these Sarms is absolutely ludicrous when you compare it to my MPP cycle, which was, you know, 600 plus into the 800s to test that all out. So the milligrams of 800 milligrams compared to like 10 to 30, you know. Sarms are no joke, especially in the injectable form factor, and that's what I was trying to prove, is that, you know, I pretty much got very similar results to a hardcore bulk cycle, and I didn't feel horrendous. Like, if I would have went the Deca MPP route, my heart, everything would be very taxed. But obviously, we were hoping the more power, like the power was going to be there, but it was going to be an anabolic environment. It wasn't going to be super androgenic. Turns out not to be the case. It's very comparable to Trenbolone. Again, I said in the comment section of the last video that Trenbolone in medical literature, I'll pull it up right now, you know, is considered a SARM, and that's injectable administration, obviously. Of course, there's methyltren, but methylation will change. You know, when it goes through the first pass, it could cause metabolites to change the, you know, to change what it does. But yeah, it seems to be the LGD especially seems to be very similar to a Trenbolone androgenic environment. So hair loss, everything you're going to have to watch out for. I didn't really have that many skin side effects, which is surprising. I was very good at keeping my Sustanon stable. I think the skin side effects would have came from Sustanon instability of having multiple peaking esters. But, you know, overall, that's my thoughts. I think we were hoping a bit too much. I was kind of led down the road with these false blood works of not maintaining a constant androgen level, where I was going to maintain a constant androgen level. I think oral SARMs are a little bit completely different. I'm going to discuss that in the Osterine logs, that Osterine injectable behaves completely different than ostarine oral administration. Like the oral administration and injectable administration seem to be like two different things, and all the medical data is all about oral administration. So that data might be, again, all theoretical, the effects might be from the first initial pass from the liver and the metabolites it creates after going through the first pass of the liver, whereas the injectable SARM doesn't have that first pass through the liver, doesn't have that first pass through the liver, but it'll eventually hit the liver. You're only avoiding the first pass. All blood hits the liver. So that could be the difference. I mean, when you look at something like EQ, which is very similar to Dianabol, two completely different things. And another interesting point would be Derek's current video on Superdrol injectable versus oral, where, it shows that having that pass through the liver, the power is way up. Personally, with my transdermal experiment, I noticed just about the same power, although I didn't go buck wild with the oral for obvious reasons, as I want my liver to work. But yeah, it is what it is. That's overall my final opinions on injectable SARMs. Like I said, my results speak for themselves. They are very powerful, and injectable SARMs are on the same level as real gear in my opinion. However, the injectable administration seems to leave an androgenic environment, which causes androgenic side effects such as hair loss, acne, and everything, which kind of defeats the purpose, because people are utilizing SARMs because there's no estrogen, there's no DHT conversion, and they're highly anabolic, non-androgenic. Now the injectable versions, highly androgenic, cause all those issues, creates an androgenic environment, crushes SHBG, crushes HDL, could possibly raise LDL depending on diet and other circumstances, and has high potassium with the possibility of increased liver enzymes. So, yep, saying it how it is, like Russo always does. Appreciate everyone who subscribes, shooting for 20K subs. I will see you in my next video.